Her attorney said that we should get those by the end of next week. And now, of course, from Justin Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, we heard a little bit about their plan.
Judge Louis Lineman has technically handed Blake Lively a small win, but don't get too excited. A bunch of her demands were dismissed almost immediately because they were outrageously over the top, and the few the judge did approve barely make a difference. Still, it's worth examining how this minor victory might affect her case against Justin Baldoni moving forward. Could Blake turn even this small win into a bigger advantage? Let's break it down.
Lawsuit with Blake Lively because I think she's horrible and she's made up this whole thing because she tried to steal his movie. But he is the most overly feminized man I've had to endure in recent history. Everything he says is self-flattering.
Judge Louis Lineman has technically handed Blake Lively a small win, but don't get it twisted. This win is more symbolic than substantial. Many of her wildest demands were dismissed almost immediately because, frankly, they were over the top, and the few that were actually granted barely moved the needle in her favor. While the ruling gives Blake a sliver of leverage, it also exposes the fragility of her overall legal strategy. Her team has been pushing hard to build a case against Justin Baldoni, but this decision underscores just how thin her evidence really is. The court made it clear that her claims, ranging from workplace misconduct and harassment to allegations of a smear campaign, lack the concrete support needed to hold up. Meanwhile, the media, the public, and even some of her old Hollywood connections are having a field day, turning the actress into a source of ridicule rather than sympathy. To understand the full picture, we need to rewind to where this all began. A few weeks ago, the It Ends With Us drama took a shocking turn when Blake's legal team suddenly requested full access to Justin Baldoni's phone records, texts, emails, and essentially any form of communication, even carrier pigeons if they existed. And the subpoenas didn't stop there. They also demanded call and text logs involving Baldoni, his PR team, and employees at Wayfair Studios. Lively's lawyers, Scott Lee and Ezra Hudson, told People that these subpoenas were aimed at uncovering the tactics allegedly used to ruin her reputation and threaten her family over the past year. In their view, every negative headline, every critical tweet, and even harsh TikToks about her acting were part of a coordinated plot orchestrated by Baldoni. But the obvious question remained, where's the evidence? That's exactly what the court demanded. Instead of providing concrete proof, Blake's team admitted they didn't yet have the evidence, but insisted it existed somewhere on Baldoni's phone. Essentially, they were banking on a fishing expedition, hoping to uncover something that could support their claims. Meanwhile, Baldoni's team stayed composed, confident that nothing incriminating existed. Fredman, representing Baldoni, told People that Blake's requests were extraordinary in both scope and nature. He explained that her lawyers sought every single call, text, data log, and even real-time location information from the past 2.5 years, regardless of the sender, recipient, or subject matter. The request represented an unprecedented intrusion into Baldoni's private life, essentially a broad sweep for any tidbit that could be twisted to fit her narrative. It quickly became clear that the subpoenas were a desperate attempt to manufacture evidence after her original allegations had been effectively undermined. The move set off a domino effect almost immediately. Observers and legal analysts recognized that Blake's team was trying to rewrite the narrative entirely because they couldn't prove the claims they had previously leveled against Baldoni. To be fair, her legal team likely believed they had a case at first, but Baldoni's meticulous preparation, including setting up a dedicated website to present all evidence supporting his defense, completely dismantled that illusion. Fast forward to the recent ruling, which finally brought some clarity. Headlines like, U.S. Court Denies Blake Lively's Request for Justin Baldoni's Phone Records began appearing across media outlets, signaling a major setback for the actress. So what did the court actually decide? According to The Hollywood Reporter, the U.S. court ruled against Blake Lively's request to access Baldoni's phone records, concluding that granting such access would constitute an excessive invasion of Baldoni's privacy. This wasn't just a minor procedural hiccup, it was a clear rebuke of her legal strategy. Blake Lively may have scored a minor procedural win, but the ruling clearly highlights the limits of her legal approach. It exposes the weakness of her claims, the speculative nature of her evidence, and the extreme lengths her team was willing to go to try to salvage the case. Justin Baldoni remains protected from invasive scrutiny, leaving Blake to recalibrate her strategy under the sharp eye of the court. The decision serves as a cautionary tale in Hollywood litigation. No matter how high profile you are, sweeping subpoenas and dramatic claims can never replace solid evidence. In this high-profile legal battle, Blake's attempts to dominate the narrative have been checked, if only slightly, by the court's insistence on procedural and factual integrity. U.S. District Judge Louis Layman delivered a ruling on Blake's subpoena request, and it's a classic mixed bag. While she technically secured a small victory, the court largely sided with Baldoni in protecting his privacy. Judge Layman denied her broad request for 2 years' worth of Baldoni and his team's phone records, noting that even if other parties were allegedly involved in a supposed plot against Lively, that did not justify handing over such extensive private data. The judge emphasized that phone records often contain sensitive personal information and shouldn't be disclosed broadly, signaling that Lively's sweeping approach was far too much. So how did Blake manage a minor win? According to Variety, the court issued a mixed ruling. While it shut down overly intrusive and disproportionate requests, it allowed her to pursue certain details through alternative legal avenues. This included access to the identities and contact information of individuals involved in the case, meaning her team can still attempt to obtain targeted data, but not the massive trove of private communications they initially sought. Essentially, she got a small taste of what she wanted, far from the comprehensive access her team had hoped for. Unsurprisingly, Blake's camp wasn't thrilled. Her representatives framed the ruling as a partial setback, claiming Baldoni rushed to court to block access to records. They also said her legal team plans to refine their approach and submit more targeted requests directly to relevant parties. In plain terms, this means they acknowledge the court's restrictions and admit that their first request was overly ambitious and excessive. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni's advocate, Brian Friedman, welcomed the ruling. He praised the ruling for protecting his client's privacy and criticized Blake's legal strategy as a desperate attempt to dig up damaging evidence where none existed. According to Friedman, the decision prevents an excessive invasion of Baldoni's personal and professional communications, while reinforcing that legal discovery isn't a tool for public spectacle or harassment. Baldoni's team has reportedly been celebrating the ruling, recognizing it as a significant defense victory, at least for now. The public, of course, is following every twist. Social media reactions range from shock to disbelief. Some commenters expressed frustration with Blake's aggressive legal tactics, questioning why she needed to push so hard, and speculating on how exasperated the judge must be by now. Others joked about potential subpoenas for Taylor Swift, the cast of It Ends With Us, Colleen Hoover, Sony executives, and even Ryan Reynolds, highlighting just how tangled this case has become. Fascination with this Hollywood legal saga. With everyone eager to see Lively's next move, the drama shows no signs of slowing down. At the end of the day, the court's decision underscores 2 key points. First, Blake Lively cannot claim unlimited access to private communications simply to support her broad allegations. Second, her legal strategy requires precision, not spectacle. While she may gain some ground, the ruling ultimately strengthens Baldoni's position and reinforces that the legal system prioritizes privacy and relevance over media drama. For now, the battle continues, with both sides recalibrating their strategies for the next round. Things are getting grim for Team Blake. Initially, Blake was confident she could control the narrative, especially after partnering with the New York Times to discredit Justin Baldoni. But with that strategy unraveling, she's the one scrambling. Many who once helped amplify her story are now distancing themselves as the situation quickly flipped. The recent court decision essentially confirms what critics predicted. Blake might be clutching at straws. The situation has deteriorated so much that Blake has reportedly begun targeting anyone creating content about the case. And by anyone, we mean social media creators and commentators who have discussed the saga. After the judge rejected her earlier attempt to gag Baldoni, Blake apparently thought, if I can't silence Justin, why not try to gag the whole internet? Unsurprisingly, that approach flopped too. Her legal team is now officially targeting content creators who repeat Baldoni's side of the story, framing them as threats to her case. The irony is striking, given that Blake herself leaked private texts and other details to the New York Times long ago, before anything was officially filed. Yet now she seems obsessed with controlling what the public sees. Some of the creators explicitly named in the filings include P.R. Hilton, who, coincidentally, is also represented by Brian Friedman, Baldoni's attorney. It's easy to see why Blake's team views these pro-Baldoni creators as part of a coordinated effort against her. Candace Owens is another figure called out. She has been diving deep into the case details, even though she initially told Blake she didn't have time to get involved in legal battles. Now she's fully immersed in analyzing the saga. At the heart of this latest legal maneuver is a fight over a protective order. While protective orders are standard in many legal cases, Blake's team is pushing for extreme measures. They are demanding that any communication or involvement from celebrities, even high-profile figures like Taylor Swift, be designated attorney's eyes only. This classification would restrict access not only for the public and media, but also prevent broader discussion of the communications in question. Essentially, Blake's team is attempting to impose maximum control over information related to the case, a move critics see as an overreach. In short, what began as a plan to manage public perception has morphed into a desperate attempt to silence anyone discussing the case. Blake Lively's legal strategy has shifted from targeted lawsuits to an all-encompassing effort to control narratives, protect supposedly private communications, and limit outside commentary, all while the public and media watch the spectacle unfold. Her latest legal maneuvers are reaching absurd levels. Blake Lively's push for control has now reached a new extreme. Her team wants content creators completely barred from accessing certain court documents, even though these same creators have been openly analyzing and reporting on publicly available filings. Meanwhile, this is the same Blake who has run to the press to put Justin Baldoni on blast, even letting her husband make jokes about the saga on SNL. The double standard is glaring, and the public is noticing. Many are calling it out, saying this isn't really about protecting survivors or seeking justice. If it were, Blake wouldn't be scrambling to hide evidence that could be inconvenient for her case. One minute, she's publicly shaping the narrative while smearing Baldoni. The next, she's trying to shut down discovery that could reveal uncomfortable truths, including how her own co-stars and people close to the production feel. The back and forth has become so absurd that even Deadline had to comment. But Blake's effort to silence content creators is where things get especially messy. Her team claims content creators repeating points, many taken directly from public court filings, are part of a misinformation echo chamber. The public sees this move for what it is, pure optics. Blake's camp clearly wants to hide documents that could show her case isn't as airtight as she claims. Naming creators publicly is intimidation in action. If you can't control the story, scare anyone who tries to talk about it. Media outlets, including those Blake's team has fed information to for months, jumped on the protective order story immediately. Yet what's often left out is the irony. This all started because Blake herself made certain texts and details public. Now she wants to shield that information behind privacy protections she previously ignored. The core problem isn't content creators, it's that Blake cannot handle losing control over the narrative she thought she could script. The internet isn't letting her off the hook, and every misstep is amplified. Adding to the spectacle, the A Simple Favor 2 trailer recently dropped, and Blake literally plays the villain. The timing feels like either wild coincidence or poetic justice, given her real-life reputation in this saga. Even more telling, the studio disabled comments on the trailer, signaling that the fallout will be managed very carefully. Social media users are having a heyday, with some joking that Anna Kendrick should lock Blake and Ryan Reynolds in the basement for the premiere. This entire situation has become a perfect storm of legal drama, PR disasters, and public scrutiny. The question on everyone's mind, will Blake survive this? Opinions are flying across social media, and the tension is palpable. Fans, critics, and casual observers are all weighing in as the story unfolds in real time. One thing is clear, the combination of court rulings, protective orders, and public outrage has made it nearly impossible for Blake to regain control of the narrative. So that's where we stand for now. Drop your thoughts below. Do you think Blake can weather the storm, or is her Hollywood image permanently cracked? Stay tuned, because the next chapter of this saga is coming, and trust me, you're not going to want to miss it.